Well, hello there, guys. I'm just hopping on live as I do. How are you doing? I thought I'd give a couple of you just a chance to go, oh, the cunt is live. Let's quickly pop on and see what she's got to rant about today. So anyway, me and Dean have been having a bit of a talk about the website and how this affects me, and he hasn't realised how it's affected me and the boys settling and socialising here in Portsmouth. And I made a comment to him today. I said, okay, we're in the dentist today, Dean. There's a little girl over there. I said, what happens if Elijah wants to connect with that little girl? How does this work between me and the parents, working out whether or not we can trust the parent with the child, right? So take the car boot. I had a lovely day at the car boot. I had a 9-year-old girl with me all day, all morning. It was wonderful and it was amazing. But I've connected with them online now, yeah? Now, the good thing about us connecting online is I got to see all her stuff. And I went, oh, you've got all the stock car. And I was messaging on her Facebook yesterday going, wow, that brings back some memories, because she'd put up a place of when I was about 14. And as you know, when I was 14, I was Kellie Ann Avis Forrester, right? So, So, Eleanor. And then she put up something to do with the stock cars. So I said, you're going to know my cousin. So those that know my cousin Ann Javis, who occasionally used to come on my lives, all her family are really into all the stock cars and all the racing. So, of course, then you get to go onto their Facebook, you get to look through their Facebook account and you go, now, obviously, I have a website, right? And that website's been going on for 11 years. It has been since I very first decided, and I worked very closely with the Disabilities Equalities office at the university. And as you know, when my final year of university, I didn't do a placement. And the reason that I didn't do a placement is because I was really battling with the vocal cord side of living with EDS and my neck and my discs, as you know. So whenever there is a problem with someone, I've just done that, yeah, but you don't know that this finger here can't actually properly curl. All the sweat, it's in here. There's a complete subluxation just in the finger, and the two bones down here are separated, right? So when I wake up in the morning, if you ever see my hands, if you're ever close to me, you'll get to see my hands, right? I can probably do it for you quite quickly. But when I wake up in the morning, my hands get like this. And I have to, and as I've always said, living with EDS is like being a glow stick, yeah? So if you know what a glow stick is, you know, the little flashy ones, and you've got to crack them for them to glow up. Now, the challenge with that is chiropractors, right? Now, people have challenged chiropractors for ages, and you've got a stick here, sweetheart. And they've always wondered whether or not going to see a chiropractor for someone like me. So if people don't know why I live, I do it because it helps me journal, it helps me process, it helps me focus on what it is that I'm trying to do and get things out. And I've found this a really good tool for somebody like me. And the thing that it helped me most with was being a single mum. And anyone who's a single mum and you've got kids going to school, you know that you pick your kids up from school and you might have a stop off to go and pick some stuff up after school for tea or stuff like that. And you might have, if you can afford it, then your kids will have clubs after school. So that could be anything from brownies to free running. For me, with Liam and Daniel, it was athletics, football. So I'm just making sure I've got, as long as there's no dog turns up, my dog's not going to shoot off. So after school activities for us was predominantly football, athletics and swimming. So my boys always had their swimming classes up at Virgin Gym straight after, and they'd have whatever ball skills we were doing down at the gym, things like that. Daniel was obviously his football. He went top. He was goalkeeper all the way through. So every Wednesday and Saturday or Sunday we'd have a match. So that was predominantly my life. And this is what I'm sort of explaining to people who don't put themselves before their children, yeah? So like me, I was a teenage mum, yeah? So my first ever education, so choosing where I position myself in the world, how I fit in the world, yeah, where do I fit in? And first of all, to the trolls. So I have decided, and I literally decided on Sunday night to check to see whether the website had been changed over. Obviously it has, but they're beating me with the same brush immediately already because they're using the Daily Mail article. Yeah, so the Daily Mail, so basically the troll website has gone, right, 11 years of Kellie Cottam, now what? And obviously they're trying to point to Kellie A. So Kellie A is Kellie Avis, yeah? So I was Kellie Avis from the age of 3. So my dad married my mum, who is my mum and my dad, my biological. So they were only teenagers when they were together. So as all women will know, if you're not married to your partner, your child automatically takes your surname, yeah? So I had Hill, which was my mum's surname. So I was born and put on the birth certificate as Hill. But when my mum and my dad got married when I was 3, I became Kellie Avis. I haven't been Kellie Avis since I was 11 years old. So if the troll people want to pick on a 3 to an 11-year-old, so whatever it is that you trolls think that I've got in my skeleton, I can tell you my life from the age of 3 to 11. Would you like to know this? So basically from the age of 3, I lived with my mum and my dad in Headley Down in a council house. My dad's mum resided in Borden with my granddad, and my nan's side, it was just my nan, and my nan lived in Whitehill and she worked for CME, and REME. So she was the office manager for all of the soldiers to make sure that they got fed, basically. So she was basically she worked in the officers' mess, and it was her job to run the timetable and schedules of everything and make sure that everything was done, that they got to their jobs, they got to their food, they got to that. And that's what my nan did for years, yeah? And that was in Borden Army Camp. And I went to Heatherlands Infants and Heatherlands Juniors. I played netball, I was on athletics team, I got on really well, predominantly, and this is predominantly to do with people with Asperger's, women Asperger's. I didn't get on with girls. I didn't play Barbie. I didn't play Surveillance Family. I wasn't into sitting down and making home with figures and things like that. I wasn't into that. I played football. My friends were boys. I hung around, as I've told you. I can tell you exactly who my best friends were. I don't know if I was their best friend, but they were my best friends. And I can tell you the sort of life it was. So obviously, as a kid, you get on a bus and you go to school. And my dad and my mum worked. So even from the age of 4, I was going off to the end of our road, which would be like this estate here, and leaving the estate and going across to the bus stop, yeah? So I've done that since the age of 4, and it was the time that you got off the bus. There would be a bus escort that would take you across the field, make sure we went into our classroom and go into class, do what we want to do. I was the artist. I was the person that would put all the glue all over my fingers. You know, you get the Marvy glue. I loved doing all the arts and crafts. I was always the one that designed all of the bits that went off. If it was carnival time, I was making the float. If it was festival time, I was making the scenery. I was in the school choir. I was part of the school play. Very, very, very active at school. But the challenges came in just sitting down. I'm sitting at the moment slightly back on my coccyx. I can choose to sit like this because nobody is forcing me to sit on a plastic chair. I used to wrap my legs around the chair, yeah? And I then got to an age where I used to turn the chair round and sit on the chair that way, yeah? And sit with my arms over it so I could keep my back straight and my back up. I was always saying my back's hurting. With somebody with EDS, I can probably show you if I can put my phone. But with somebody with let's talk about posture now. Now, you're obviously here. You're here. Yeah. So, you know, and that's why you have a back of a chair. So this is when Gestalt psychology comes in and why labels are so important. When does a chair become a chair? It becomes a chair because it's got a back on it. If it hasn't got a back on it, then it's a stool. If it's taller than a chair, then it becomes a table, but it's still got 4 legs, but it hasn't got a back on it. And that's how the processing of labeling things. This is a tree. We know this is a tree because we call it a tree. This is a tree in many different languages. It's called different things. I don't actually know what tree is in any other language. So if you know what a tree is in any other language, it would be lovely to know. What's a tree in Russian? I think it's still a tree. Hey! Recall and I'll do it. Recall. I'll get it. I'll get it. Sorry, guys. I didn't see the dog coming. Oh, I've just gone arse over tit as well. My phone is covered. Hang on. My phone is covered. And my phone is covered in mud. And my back is covered in mud. Because I didn't see the woman walking up there. This is what I'm saying about living. It's so difficult for me to take chance. If I had my way, shit, I'm shaking. Fucking shaking, mate. Literally, lady's got a dog. Dog is on a lead. A big dog too, lovely dog. And I have never known what is going to happen with my dog if I had my dog and another dog off a lead. Look. And this is where social services comes in, isn't it? Okay, so let's change the pace of this. Let's use this as an example, okay? So let's take us away from being humans right now and take us back into being animals, animal true instincts, fight and survival, yeah? And one of the reasons that this website causes me problems and stops around here, because like I've said, is we have no way of knowing people, okay? So say I'm sitting on the park right here, right now, and someone comes and sits next to me and we get chatting. First of all, what information do you share with someone? Well, anyway, hi, I'm Kelly. The main things that people are looking for, now let's put this into business, is who, what and why. Who are you? What do you want? And why, basically. So it's about a share of information. It's about exchange of mutual things. So for someone like me, do I hang around with skaters? Yes. The difference with skaters to any other growing profession or industry is we are not in competition with each other. No skater is in competition with each other, right? So take me, okay? So I haven't been out skating all over the lockdown in the way that the people being locked down have been coming out skating, yeah? So our skate crew has been literally pulling people out of lockdown one by one by one by one and coming down to each of the places where there's been a skate crew already logged, and it's for their beginning lessons. So basically, while they've been on lockdown, they've all been online, ordered a pair of skates, not probably even tried them on in the house because they're probably even a little bit worried, or maybe even tried them on in the house. Might have even gone in their back garden. Not probably brave enough to go out in public. Probably maybe in the bedroom, maybe on the living room floor. Now, have any of you ever put any roller skates on, ever? You would have done when you were a kid at some point, probably. At some point. Now, let's go back to the car boot. I had 2 pairs of roller skates for sale at the car boot, yeah? Lost a lot of money on them, obviously, because one set I had bought online that didn't fit me very well, really uncomfortable. The wheels are very different. Do you know there's a difference between the wheels on roller skates? Bear with me. Kelly Cotton style, I always talk in riddles and rhymes, and sometimes I even say things completely wrong because it's about you going, that's not what she meant. And then you going, yeah, but she meant that. That's about you then taking on that information and intellectually educating yourselves. I'm an interventionalist, remember, I do it for a reason. I do it naturally because I'm not a trained interventionalist. I've always been an interventionalist. Why have I always been an interventionalist? I've always been an interventionalist because my parents were divorced from day one. In a world where, yes, divorce had always gone on, single mums have always existed. It was all to do with the social acceptance of these things and tolerance. It was very, very, very difficult for a 15-year-old girl to walk down the street with a bump in per se how it is today. However, there is still a stereotype if you see a teenage mother walking down the road. There is still a stereotype. Right, I'm back. Sorry, guys. Around here, I struggle with signal once I come back home. What I'm basically saying is society has changed its ways to stereotypes, but society hasn't changed its ways in many ways because we still judge. We still point fingers. We still criticise. We still pick holes. We still want to find fault in people. We still want to condemn people. We still want to criticise people. Even I do it, for fuck's sake, with Boris Johnson, for God's sake. I don't call the man in the same way as other people do. I'm not out there like Stephen Morgan in the way that obviously using Labour to attack Conservative, as you can see. And the more and more I attack Stephen Morgan, the more Stephen Morgan attacks Boris Johnson. And that's the way it works. You have a really shit fucking day at work, you come home and you take it out on your partner or your kids. You have a really tough time with your partner, you go to work and you take it out on them. You have a really shitty fucking time with your friends and you go to work and you take it out on your work colleagues. And this is called being in reaction. And most people in the world have been in survival mode their whole fucking life because their parents are forced to go out to work to pay the bills, to keep the house under. Children are forced to go into education. Children are not understanding where this need and crave for the love that they're not getting is not coming from, because teachers are not walking around going, oh, that's amazing, oh, I love you, and a kiss and a hug. And not all parents do it. My parents didn't tell me they loved me, I can tell you that. I didn't get the love yous. I didn't grow up with that. I don't think my mum, other than the time that I was 11 sitting on the bed with her talking about my experience of my uncle, who was 5 years older than me, having sexual contact and penetration with me. Put it under the label sexual abuse if you want, that's what they do. So childhood sexual abuse, they call it. Victims, they label us. So anyway, I haven't been Kellie Avis. This is for the website troll people. I haven't been Kellie Avis since I was 11. And the reason that I haven't been Kellie Avis is because I lived with my dad from the ages of 3 to 11. And I was raised by my dad and my stepmum, who is known as Roisin Avis. But obviously she was a Roisin Annette Doris Leggett because she's Irish. Irish Catholic. And she is the one that gave up carrying on tour and working for Diana Ross. So let Mary through, come here. Working for Diana Ross to raise me with my father. So I then went to live with my mum, who was married to Mick Tinker. She, when she divorced, changed her name from Sharon Tinker, who was originally obviously Sharon Hill, and she changed her whole name. So my mum changed her first name from Sharon to Sian based on a weather girl that she liked, and she liked her name that was on telly. And Forrester, I think, was just obviously the difference from Hill. I can't remember where Forrester come from. I've got a feeling the weather girl might have actually been called Sian Forrester, and that's how she changed her name. So she changed her name by default, and she legally changed her name. So when my mum went from being who she was and then obviously being with Trevor and going into having to do cheese and wine parties and go to watch Cats and, you know, sit at Bryan Adams's concerts in the VIP section, because Trevor was the one that used to have his cars built and import and export for him. So basically Trevor used to import and export all the cars for the top people, really, hence why he had the car for Princess and Diana lookalikes, Prince Charles and Diana, hence why we used to go to, I was fucking there when, is it, not I Am the One and Only, what is it? When they did the Robin Hood thing one. We were there when they did it. We were sitting in the VIP section, and I was like, who the fuck is he? Bryan Adams, that was it. Anything I do for love, that was it. So I've been hearing that song way before everybody else, I suppose. So then, obviously, I went from going from Headley Infants, Headley Juniors, and then, as I told you on a previous live, I didn't go to Mill Chase like everybody else. I went off to Bow Hunt. So I remained at Bow Hunt for only until probably less than a year. We were just all going snowboarding, hence snowboarding. My mum had paid for me to go on the snowboarding trip, and we were all going snowboarding. See if there's all the dogs around to walk Emily. So anyway, I'll lose my signal as I come round here in a minute. My car is absolutely jam-packed still. I've got to unpack my car, but my back and all that is a little bit dodgy at the moment. So, oh, good. Yeah. Hey, even Danny's in a chair. Bless him. Yeah, my car is, look at my car. It's all completely chock-a-blocked up. And the good thing is take away so you have to pay £8 for the car boot, so that's £8 straight away, so that's not your profit, so that's your fees. So if people want to work out how you make a profit, so obviously whatever you make at the car boot when you're on benefits is yours, because you're selling your own things, blah 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 blah. It's not a job, and you're allowed to earn up to, I think it's like 90. I don't know if it's changed, because obviously I'm dealing with 11 years ago, as my trolls have reminded me. And I will, before I go, just remind you what happens, as you know, being that they don't give a shit about my adoptive children, as they have said, just as they don't give a shit about my children now. And I don't help parents. And the reason that I don't help parents is because I haven't got time, and I haven't got people that I can have around my children. I made that decision to do it once, and the parents were into coke, and I had to back away. I had babies. I wasn't willing to take that risk, even with Josie. You know, I was never ever able to help Josie. I was just able to be there when she was at points and keep her motivated and move forward. As I've always said, when I first came into this, as in my children taken, I came into a world of people that already existed. I just literally was a very different personality to all of them people, and networked and wanted to find people that could help, and unfortunately ended up in a situation of people who were at the core of that problem, and probably people who were part of the problem. But I've been here in Portsmouth, which is where I was born, Kellie Hill. So when my mum moved me to Ash Manor, I didn't go to school for quite a while. I lived in Germany for a bit, because once it came out about what happened, everybody didn't know how to cope with me, so to say. So literally, I was at St. Peter's School when it all came out. So before I'd gone off to Weydon, and that was prior, and I was still Kellie Avis. And I didn't become Kellie Avis Forrester until my mum signed me to go to a school, and I had to do all of my paperwork. And she then made the decision and said, look, do you want to go to school as Kellie Avis? Don't forget, when I lived in Germany, my name was completely changed to Jamie Lee for a bit. People kept saying, oh, my dad was trying to find me and all of this. People trying to scare the shit out of me with my dad. It had nothing to do with my dad. That was just people being cunts. So I hadn't seen my dad since the day that my mum turned up to the house in Liphook. My stepmum, Debbie, had thrown all of the photographs of my mum, Roisin, out. Anything to do with my dad's past had all been thrown out the front door. And that also included me. And I was my dad's past. And me and my brother were also thrown out the door. And my dad chose his 24-year-old girlfriend over his 2 children, basically. And I went to my mum. And that's how I ended up going to live with my mum. There's probably about a year or something in that, because it wasn't until I was 13. So that's the ages of 11. So between the ages of 11 and 13, I literally lived. So I went from my mum's to Woking in Knapp Hill. that's when all the MPs got involved, because Mick wrapped a cord around my mum, around her neck, dragged her upstairs, and I ran out the house and went and got my guitar teacher, and they went and got the MPs. And we left and went to my nan's. That was my mum's mum. So we lived at my nan's. Then my mum lived in a bedsit. And that's when I then went to St. Peter's. And then my mum said, you've got a choice, because it was a different area. In some areas you went to infants and primary, and then other ones it became high school. So you didn't go to high school until you were, sort of 11, where previously we'd gone to high school a little bit earlier or something. So there's something to do with it. So I had the opportunity to go back to a middle school, even though I'd already been to 2 high schools. And so I had about 6 months out of school when I was in Germany. My cousins were going to St. King's at the time. I remember that because I met them at the bus stop a couple of times, and I didn't go to school. But I might have been 11, but I was getting fucked by soldiers, like literally. They were coming back on leave, coming down to the park, and soldiers were being the way that they were with me. So my parents didn't really, my dad was gone. That was it. I hadn't spoken to my dad probably until I was 19. In fact, I think the next time I saw my dad was when I needed to go and get my dad to sign my marriage certificate, my permission to get married, because I was 17 and pregnant, basically. And then I saw him for a bit briefly, but it just caused problems with his new wife again. I didn't even go to the wedding, wasn't even told they were getting married. I only ever find out things through people, or I might turn up and I'll see a photograph in the corner or something, and I'll think, I go to funerals, I don't get invited to weddings. I haven't been part of my family since I was 11 years old. And then my mum lost her job as an au pair, because we lived with another woman in Farnham. My mum was taking her kids to school and stuff, which is a real not in line with who my mum is. Really not in line. My mum just must have really needed a job, and they would let her live there with her daughter. So, it all came out about my Uncle Neil. So that's then when the police get involved. And as you'll know, and this is the problem with social care, they go around to your family members, they go and speak to people. They don't speak to everybody, but they speak to who they're told they can speak to. And obviously my dad chose to carry on training with Neil, right? So this is another thing. There could be people involved behind in this website that could be to do with anything. They're trying to point at the fact that I'm Kellie C, and this is where my skeletons are all going to come out. Well, Kellie A spent more time standing up for her cousins, mate. I was spending most of my time at that age having to stand up to the rumours and shit going on about my Uncle Sam. I spent so much time, any person called my Uncle Sam a murderer, mate, I would nut you or I would give you a right fist. It was as simple as that. Don't call my Uncle Sam a murderer. Like I said, yeah, my Uncle Sam was in prison, innocent, as proven. But for 9 years, mate, for 9 years, my family had to go through everybody calling my uncle a murderer. And I was a kid in all of this, yeah? I wasn't an adult in it, I was a kid in it. Having to go to the prison. I didn't have to. I wanted to be with my Uncle Sam, because I've got everybody out here shouting things, ranting things, writing signs over the clubs, Sam Hill's a murderer. So that's how I learnt to graffiti, by the way, because I went over and changed the word murderer into innocent, yeah? I would sit at the prison cell and I would go and get all of the cups, and all the prisoners used to know I used to do this, yeah? So as everybody was getting off, getting up to go, they would all come and bring me their polystyrene cup. I was only a kid, and I would literally write SAMHILISINNCE. Now I'm going to get done for me spelling on innocent. And I would leave and line them all the way up in front of the guards. And I would line them in front of the guards. My nan could tell you if she was still here. My Uncle Sam will tell you, yeah? She used to line them up right in front of her. I used to turn them upside down and just line them up right in front of them. Or I used to leave them on the table. And that's what I used to do before I used to leave the prison. Then I wore a T-shirt, and I had a T-shirt on that had Sam Hill is innocent. Now, I was not Mimi. I was not the solicitor in all of this. I was not, what's his name? I was not Michael Mansfield, which was the barrister. I was not the film crew for Rough Justice. I was not the papers. I was not the police. I was not the social workers that were all around because there was a kid around. I was not the people out on the streets that were calling him a murderer, and nor was I the people out there that was ignoring our family, okay? My mum's had to battle through all of that, still going to school, college, school, boom, boom, getting on with her life. Me taking my driving tests and exams, you know, while the court case is going on. Move. Oh, hang on a minute, I want that card. Club. No, leave, move. Let's go, hurts my shoulder and my back. Go. What's this? Oh, there's a dog down there. No. So, and nor was I my nan going through it. Nor was I my mum going through it. I was me going through it. My experiences, my journey. Different perspective to everybody else. I wasn't sitting in the courts like my nan and Sam and everybody. I wasn't the person sitting in prison. Oh, for fuck's sake, I'm not walking this way again. Let me just walk her past. Go! Go, 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 go. Right, let me just get her past. It's lucky our humans don't bite each other like this, innit? So anyway, being a kid that these people are picking on, and I'm writing a book, so I don't mind doing all of this. It helps me. If anyone's got any photographs at that time, please send them to me. It helps me increase my memories. I love hearing memories about it. You can even add to my book with your own opinion of it all if you want. But the website people, yet again, completely fucking wrong. Again, just bullies. But does it stop me getting on? Yes, it does. It keeps me campaigning. They keep me campaigning, by the way. It's because of these people that I don't go and just take a normal life. It's because of these people that I don't put my kids in school. Because they could change their website or cause a out-of-hours phone call to social mate, and my kids are at school, and I'm saying, well, they've been picked up at social because we've had an allegation of this and this. It's because of them that I don't do it, because these people are capable of doing it. So I've got my own fears and battles. I've got my own traumas to deal with. All these people do is add to the trauma. Lucky I'm a strong person, innit? Lucky I got the Lord strapped to me back and I've got my faith. You know, lucky my mum taught me there was no such word as can't. Lucky I've got all of these coaches and mentors. Right. Oh, no, I'm back. Sorry, I was just about to click it out because I thought it was going to shut me down. I think it's when I walk past the garages. What are you rolling down there? Yeah, I think it's when I walk past the garages. So anyway, what I was basically saying is websites have changed. Auntie Alison, do you want to help me with it, yeah? My website is kellycottam.co.uk. Their website is kelly-cottam.com. And what I need people to do is tell me, have I got someone fucking following us, mate? Have I got somebody stalking us properly? Is this to do with the first person? So Sharon Kilby was the first person to ever write about me after my kids were taken. The Daily Mail article, by the way, and my Aunt Alison was with us all the way through this, so she knows each stage that it was flipped over. She even watched, and I really wish she'd bloody recorded it because I really need it, the Daybreak interview, right? So the original article went out in the Chorley and Leyland Guardian. I have the original article. It was the Daily Mail that were kept away from me. And the reason that the Daily Mail were kept away from me, the Daily Mail never interviewed me. Andy Dolan never came to interview me. I was at Daybreak when Andy Dolan turned up at my property. So I was in London when they sent all the media. So I actually had a courtesy car at the time, by the way. So I actually had a Mazda 6. So they're writing about a Charan. And the Xbox and everything, I'd only just brought with my first ever child tax as a self-employed person. So I got all my stuff, and that was the first thing that I did, is I got the boys that, which was the worst thing that I ever did. So the original article, which was about Challenge Britain and a programme for choices, basically, was in that article. But all this will all be put together. But in the meantime, I've got to deal with everyday life. So obviously, we're connecting up with the people, and I have to constantly explain to them that if they connect with me online, that there's a smear campaign on me, and then why there's a smear campaign. So it's never ending. It's constant. I can't just go, hey, this is my life out here. Fuck the online life. People write what they like. But there's people out here, mate, that have it. It's like I said to Dean the other day. I said, did you know that people in Coronation Street, and I've got lots of friends in soaps, I said, do you know that they actually get physically assaulted on the streets because of something that their character does? And it's like, I said to him last night, I said, do people out here realise that the people in Coronation Street, EastEnders and Emmerdale are actresses? Now, the problem is people believe that's what I am, yeah? So with 9/11, all the hoaxes, all these things that go on, there's a load of conspiracy theories that believe that there are crisis actresses. So what they're trying to say is I'm what's called a crisis actress. And they're trying to say that I was in the papers, lost kids, blah, blah, blah. So all this pain, all this stuff that I go through, to them, isn't real. It's fucking real, all right. And it's horrible and it's painful.